Hey everybody, welcome to Finding Foundations, the pod. This is a space for honest conversations about the moments that shape us, those turning points, that messy middle, and everything in between. In each episode, I sit down with somebody to explore what they've learned along their way, how they've held on to it when things felt really difficult, and what's changed because of it. No perfect answers, just real stories. I'm Karen Tom, and this is Finding Foundations. Ooh, and this was an exciting one. We filmed this first episode live with an audience. I know, pretty scary, but I loved it, and the women had brilliant questions to ask afterwards. It was such a good night. But who was this first conversation with, you might ask? So, Louisa Rodriguez. She's an executive coach, leadership, learning and development consultant, and mountain leader. She spent the first 10 years of her career working in the voluntary sector, advocating for and supporting marginalised people. This included setting up and running a service to support women out of sex work. She ran a programme for peace across the north of England before moving on to set up and run her own social enterprise to campaign for greater awareness of and support for people affected by PTSD. In 2017, Louisa changed direction, working in the corporate sector, setting up learning and development departments for 2 different companies, driving cultural change before specialising in leadership and performance. Louisa was a volunteer delegate for the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women's 67th and 68th session. She now works as an independent consultant, coaching and running various development programmes from women in leadership to inclusion to team development, positive communication and well-being. In her role as mountain leader, she connects people to the outdoors for well-being, learning and development. When she isn't at work, you can find her running in the fells, swimming in the beautiful lakes of Cumbria, writing poetry, visiting all the wonderful independent bookshops that feed her book obsession. Wow, what a bio. So let's get into it. How does it feel hearing all of that?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? I mean, get asked to write bios all the time, like wouldn't put. But yeah, I have crammed quite a lot in. I've lived I feel like I lived a few lives in my life. But also, I think from where I've come from, like sort of 11 years ago to now, I feel very grateful for where I found myself at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've done so much in such a short space of time that it feels like it is already somehow a lifetime. Yeah. It's strange, isn't it, as well, when you think back, like over the last few months, there's really been this, like, what were you doing in 2016? And it's like this sort of like decade, this decade backwards of looking. And I think it really feels like so many people really are in such different places to where they were in 2015, 16, whatever it was.
Yeah, I think so. Life has changed a lot as well, you know. I think sort of thinking back to when I was 20, I was talking recently with friends about, we went out before the age of social media, and all our dark nights in the nightclubs they're not out there, they're sort of kept secret. But I think it's interesting to think, so I turned 40 2 years ago, and that was quite a moment for me, because when I turned 30, it was like the worst time in my life. My life utterly kind of fell apart, really, and I felt like I lost everything. And it was a really dark time. Sort of early 2015, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress as a result of everything I'd been through. And then when I turned 40, it was like the best year of my life. And it was quite emotional for me, because I just looked back and I was like, I made a promise to myself. So when I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, I cried a lot when I found out that that's sort of what was going on, and it made a lot of sense though. But I kind of made a promise to myself. I was like, everything's fallen away. I felt like I lost everything, but one thing I did have was running. So I used to run. I ran a lot, and running was absolutely fundamental to how I recovered. And I often say running saved my life, and it 100% did. It was the only thing that got me out of bed at that time. And I made this promise to myself the day I got diagnosed. I was like, right, your life is really rock bottom, but you're going to come back from this and you're going to make your life even better than it was before all of this happened. And that was a promise I made to myself. And it's funny, I wrote down over a period of sort of a year or so, I wrote down all these things that I wanted to do and the things that I wanted to achieve. And sort of just had them there. And then when I turned 40, I kind of looked back over the 10 years and I was like, I did it. I did it. To turn 40 with the best of your life, coming from like the worst time of your life in a decade, and celebrating with friends, I had like two, because when you turn 40, you've got to celebrate big. I had like 2 weeks of celebrations. And it was actually quite emotional. It was quite emotional actually, just sort of looking back and realising that I did it. And I think it was a decade. And I think that's really important. The life I have now wasn't built overnight. It was built over a decade.
Yeah.
And it was lots of small things that add up. And I talk about this a lot actually with leaders and when I'm doing development programs. Everyone wants the big thing, right? They want to be at the big thing, but no one gets to the big thing overnight.
Everything takes some time to get there.
Every small step.
I'm only going to cut in there because we're going to go back to... You're going to whiz through in like 10 minutes and I'm like, come on, slow down. So if you think about where you were at the beginning part of that decade and where you are now, what's the one truth that it is that you've come to know? Is there a word or like a metaphor or something that sums that up?
There's a couple. I don't have one. I have a couple. So one of the fundamental things that I lived by was I'm going to take this pain, I'm going to turn it into something, I'm going to turn it into purpose and power.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to talk about the trauma itself.
No.
But the trauma that I went through wasn't clean, shall we say. So it went on for quite a few years, and there was a court case, and there was so I think I'd be like, oh, moving forward, and then something would happen, and it felt like it'd come and sideswipe me.
Yeah.
And so then what I do is I've got to this point where I was like, I'm going to take this pain, and I'm going to turn it into something powerful. And I used it to motivate me. So I remember in 2013, I got into ultra running, and I remember watching. It's a very random story, but I ended up at these Irish championships because I was raising awareness of PTSD, and there was this woman, and she ran like 140 miles in like 24 hours on this track. Like I was my mind was blown. I was like, oh my God. I was like, one day I'm going to run 100 miles. Like I want to do that. And so I'd be like, right, like I'm going to do that, and sort of trained. And actually my first attempt at 100 miles, this was such a stupid idea. So I decided I was going to run 100 miles the day after this court case, right? And the court case was hideously stressful.
Run it out.
It was hideously stressful. Like every day you get moved, and it was all very public. It was in the media. It was very public and hideously stressful. And every day it'd be like, you're going to be in court on Wednesday, and then be like, no, we're running behind. You're going to be in court. So every day you get like getting worked up. And then I was in the court on Friday giving my evidence. Super draining, exhausting, and it was kind of an end of like a 3-year journey. And I booked to do this 100-mile run the next day. And I remember getting up in the morning at like 6 a.m, just feeling utterly exhausted, like mentally. I just hadn't, and I remember thinking, I don't think I've got it in me today. But I was like, I'm going to go show up. And I still got to 60 miles, but I just didn't have it in me.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, to get to 60 miles, I think I'd be quite happy.
And actually, do you know what was really interesting, actually? I remember it was a really cold night. It was like below freezing, and I was shivering, and it was like mile 45, and it was in the dark, and it was November, and it was grim.
I mean, this just sounds like torture.
Yeah, and I was, and I remember messaging my friend at the time going, I don't think I can do it. And I'd run quite a lot of ultras by that point. I was like, I don't think I can do it. And they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, I just don't. And I said, and I remember saying to him, I feel like I've been through enough pain. I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
And I had to keep going for another 15 miles because I had to get to the checkpoint to like get out of this race. And then I got to the end, I got to the 60 miles, and I just was like, no, I'm done. But then if anyone is into their running, you kind of, once you get the bug for things, you're like, oh, I can't. Anyway, I was like, went away and I reflected on it, and I was like, no, I'm going to run 100 miles. But what I realised I needed to do was train my mind better.
Yeah.
And the next year, I ran 100 miles.
Yeah.
I did a race, 100-mile race. Like, that was the thing that I wanted to do.
I think in that kind of sense, I've never run 100 miles. I've done a couple of marathons, but I think your body your mind gives up before your body does. Like your body will just keep going, and it's your mind that's that constant battle.
Yeah. Yeah, they say like running an ultra is like something like 80% mind, 20% body.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was running that 100 miles, I was like, right, you know, when it got tough, I was like, well, look at everything you've been through. If you can get through that, you can get through this. And yeah, I don't know how I did it. I did it. I was an utter mess at the end. I remember the last 3 miles, I put Little Mix on. Any of the Little Mix on? I love Little Mix. I had them on my iPod for the last 3 miles, and that's what got me to the finish. I remember getting to the finish, and this guy was like, one of the guys that worked on the race, he went, "Oh, what are you listening to?" I said, "Oh, Little Mix." And he went, "Oh, a Little Mix."
Like,
and I said, "Do not diss Little Mix. They just got me through the finish line."
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I was like determined to do this 100-mile race. And then there was other things sort of in 2016, like the trial was adjourned and it was really unexpected and loads of different stuff kept happening related to the trauma. And every time something bad happened, I'll go, right, how can I turn this into something positive? So I'd always wanted to go traveling on my own.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, this summer, that's it. I'm going traveling. So I travelled around Southeast Asia on my own. And then I wanted to do a conference to like raise awareness of for the International Day to Eliminate Violence Against Women. I was like, I really want to do a conference. I think it's really important. Something else happened. I was like, right, we're going to make that happen. And basically, I basically came to this point where something bad happened. I'd be like, right, well, I'm going to turn it on its head. And how can I use that to motivate me? And at the
It also sounds quite tiring as well, though. Like, it must have felt quite exhausting.
At the time, that was how I dealt with stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of get on I don't think I really thought about it at the time. It was kind of like that. I didn't feel like there was this is how I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
Because actually, I want to move forward with my life. And I think that was the other thing is I really didn't want the trauma to define me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to define myself. Yeah. And I think because some of the stuff that happened was quite public, like I didn't always feel like I had, everyone would have their own opinion on what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, well, I want to define it and I don't want to become the trauma.
Yeah. It's like taking ownership of it.
Yeah. And I was really like, I remember sort of after the trial happened, I was like, right, I want in years to come people to look at me for who I am now, not for what happened to me.
Yeah.
And that kind of motivated me as well. I was like, I'm going to define who I am. I'm not going to be defined by other people. And it wasn't until lockdown, actually. I got to lockdown and basically if lockdown hadn't happened, I would have had a full-blown burnout. I was on a train, I was traveling the country for work and I was on a train every day. And I remember just being like, oh, it's slightly ironic now. 'Cause I remember being like in February going, I just need a minute to breathe. I just need a minute to breathe. And then it's like, be careful what you wish for.
Little did you know you're going to get...
Because then we got lockdown and I got a furloughed. But actually that made me stop. It really made me stop and go, right, you keep on burning out. And I actually didn't realise until that lockdown that for a long time I've been running really fast.
Yeah.
I've been running really fast and achieve, do this. Look at me, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And actually in lockdown, I was like, I don't need to run anymore. Like look what you've done, look at where your life's at. And it was actually a moment then to redefine myself again.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the last sort of 12 years, I think that's one thing that I realised is you kind of have to, life is about learning and evolving. And I think you're in your 20s and you're a certain version of yourself. You're in your 30s, you're a certain version of yourself. And we kind of have to kind of surrender that version of ourselves to become the next version.
Yeah. And I think as well, there's that point where you have the tools that you've got and that's how you can live with things. And it's, the more aware you become, the more experience you get, the things that happen to you, you learn and evolve from it and you get another set of tools so you can look at things differently and you can come back at them from a different perspective somehow.
Oh yeah.
But what do you think, sorry, I think I missed that. What was the word that you would sum up that journey?
Oh God. I don't know, it's quite hard. Probably a mix of like surrender and hope. So I think and actually when I was diagnosed with trauma, one of the things I really battled with for quite a while was, I just want to be that person I was before.
Yeah.
I want to be that all glitter. I used to love glitter and I was like all glittery and everything happy. But when you've been through something when you go through like post-traumatic stress, your world isn't safe anymore.
Yeah.
You've experienced something where it's like this. And I completely lost trust in myself and I lost trust in other people. And I was like, I just want to be that person that can just see love and rainbows and see the good in everybody. And I was like, I just want to be that person. And it wasn't until I was willing to go, you're never going to be that person again.
Yeah.
Because you can't be.
No.
Because actually what you've experienced has shaken your world up.
Yeah.
But you can be something else. And I think in some respects, that process of losing everything, like I lost my career, I kind of lost my integrity, I lost a lot of things. And then you come back from it, it does make you a bit more like, well, actually, you don't need to hold so tightly to things, because all those things that I lost, I'm here, I survived, and things that I never wanted to happen, happened. And you know, even now, sometimes I'll sort of sit there and I'll face a hard thing. And I'll go, Louisa, you know, you can through that. Get through anything. And there's kind of a strength that you can draw from that.
Yeah.
And a fearlessness. I think I've got quite comfortable with fear because I'm so used to pushing that comfort zone.
So tell us about, that's quite it's like as we were saying earlier, it's almost like be that thing that you want to, like hope, surrender and hope. Yeah. They're the almost like the light in the dark of each other, isn't it? It's like in that surrender, it gives you hope. And I guess it's surrendering to that fear, isn't it?
Yeah, and surrendering to the process, which is really hard, because I think as humans, we want to feel like we're in control, but we can't. I mean, and also...
We don't want to lose control either, do we?
Yeah, and we have to sit with the unknown. So like when I work with leaders, I often say, people are not black and white. They're every shades of grey. And that's what makes leadership like amazing, but also very challenging. And I think when I was sort of knee deep in the trauma, I kind of look at it now as like I was in the dark. I felt like I was wandering in the dark. And it was just like a really dark, bleak place. And that hope was it was like a teeny little bit of light in that darkness. But what I understand now is, so me and my friend, we used to talk about the caterpillar, and it goes into this chrysalis, right? And then it comes out this beautiful butterfly. But when it goes in the chrysalis, it's really like gross and messy, and it's like transformative, and it's really uncomfortable. But they have to go through that in terms of becoming a butterfly. And it's the same with like seasons, right? Nature does it. Every winter, everything dies, so it can be reborn again. Yeah. And I think that, you know, when I was going through the trauma and trying to heal, it felt like I had to pull myself apart and put myself back together again and really stare myself in the face. Because while some of the stuff that happened to me wasn't my fault, I was kind of like, well, how did I end up in that situation? And it was really like, it was really lonely, and it was pretty dark. But what I've come to know now is, from that darkness, like the life I had now has come from that dark place. All the things that I wanted and that visions that I created. And like I was saying earlier, in February with the Epstein files, like if any, you know, I think a lot of women, and there's a few women I've spoken to who, if you've ever experienced any sort of sexual assault or violence from men, I think the Epstein files were really triggering. And for me, I ended up back in that dark place. And I was like, I just felt really hopeless. I felt really hopeless towards men. I just like lost my faith for a minute. And then at the end of the month, I was like, no, we don't do that. We can't do this. We need hope. We need hope that actually... And then I looked back at my month of February and my work that I'd done. And there's all these examples of like great stuff. So I was working in Germany with a group of people that were from all over the world, and they were like coming together as a team, supporting each other. And they actually really valued that diversity of thought that came. And then I was on a course which was all about how we hold space when there's polarized views, and we bring people together to kind of have a dialogue. And I met these young people that I'm going to Nepal with later this year, and they were really like, can't wait to go and experience a different culture. And I was like, this is all this good stuff. Like, this is the hope. And I was like, we have to hold on to hope. And I think when you're in that, and it's really hard when things are hard, but it's like having to find like whatever small thing to know that it like dark times do end, like the light will come again. And I think that was really key to helping me heal.
And I think that's really beautiful, the way that you put that. But going back to what you were saying about like the caterpillar, the seasons in that way. Everything is a cycle, right? It's like everything that happens, nothing is endless. Like if we were constantly in summer, we'd be burnt out. We need winter to replenish, to regenerate, to die, to rebirth and come back again in the spring with a different way. Like the seasons never come the same, do they? One winter's heavy, one's light. Things change, and it is that point of surrendering and surrendering that control, because actually we think we've got control. We've got no control. And everything's an illusion, isn't it? And it's like how you still take that step and almost like dive into that pool of darkness, and what does it have to offer?
Diving into the unknown.
Yeah. And if you hadn't have realised, have come to that point of surrender and hope, where do you think you would have been now?
So I think the other thing that kind of helped me at that time was I'd seen people that were permanent victims and like their mindset, and I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be seen as a victim. I didn't even want to be seen as a survivor. I wanted to be seen as someone that thrived. And it's almost like I didn't really feel like I had an option. There was no option. It's like, I can't stay here. And also I think, I had to find a way, because I had to pay my rent, I had to figure out what I was going to do. I had to find a way to pay my rent and make money. And I don't feel there was an option. And I say that it took many years to get to where I am. It took many years. It took a psychologist. It took a psychotherapist. I've had every holistic therapy under the sun.
What's your favourite?
Actually, do you know what? 2 things that really helped me. So initially, I saw a psychologist and had trauma therapy. And that was great, particularly sort of to help me just manage the initial bit. I went through periods where I needed to have sleeping tablets because my nightmares would get so bad. But after the trial, which was in 2016, I had this realization. I was like, this trauma is in my body. Because I had a lot of physical symptoms. It wasn't just like your mind. I had a lot of physical stuff that would go on. And I was like, I need to get this trauma out of my body.
Yeah.
So I was like, I actually don't think talking to somebody is going to help me. And I didn't know like what. And anyway, so I ended up going to see a shaman for 2 years, and she was amazing. She was American, and she used to be a nurse, and she was now a shaman. And she was very like maternal. She had this really beautiful maternal energy, and I'd go and see her. And I can't quite explain what she did. She would do loads of stuff, but she really helped me, and it felt like it was helping stuff shift. But then she sort of said to me, actually, I think you should go to 5 rhythms. And 5 rhythms is something that completely, I don't think I would be here actually if it wasn't 5 rhythms. I think like running definitely helped me, but also running was...
It's disconnecting though, isn't it? It's like you can escape with running, whereas...
I've got quite, I've over the years realised I've got an all or nothing personality. So running actually at times I would run. So sometimes running would be for me, because inside I felt quite broken. I would be like, let's see if I can just break myself. Because it was a way of the pain that I felt inside, running long and hard.
Yeah.
Would, like, I could deal with the physical pain, right? Because it helped me make sense of the pain I felt inside.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to the psychologist, because I'd basically run loads of miles and I was under eating, overtraining. And that was like a coping strategy. And it, there's far worse coping strategies that could have gone on, but there definitely was a time when it was like, oh, this is...
Yeah, it's too much.
Whereas 5 rhythms, so 5 rhythms is something, it's like a, Gabrielle Roth, she was American, she set it up, and you go through these 5 waves of, I can never remember, it's like staccato and then chaos, and then you come down to lyrics. It moves you through these, the music's designed to move you through these things, and you move differently in each one. But essentially what it is it's just this massive, like...
It grounds you and connects you to your body, doesn't it? So
and it just feel... like... And it's just such a beautiful... When you're in a 5 rhythm space, I honestly think if everyone did 5 rhythms, there wouldn't be wars. Yeah. Honestly, just the energy in a 5 rhythms room, it's like just everyone's just so loving and joyful. And no one talks. You don't really talk. You just move. And so I went every week, and it was just like and chaos particularly, just like let rip and dance. And it just allowed me to sort of get this stuff out of my body. And if I was angry, I could stomp it out. And if I was joyful, and there's actually, I lived in Leeds at the time. There's this facilitator called Christopher Boylan, and he ran these, and he was just held the space beautifully. And I go every week for about 2 years. And I think for me huge. And I think there was that thing about mind, body, soul connection.
Yeah.
And I think that's another big thing for me is about our nervous systems and how we take care of ourselves is connecting to our bodies. And I think, I used to joke actually when I was in my 20s, a dance a day keeps the doctor away. But actually, I'm increasingly thinking that it's very true. Kitchen discos, the way forward.
Definitely. I mean, oh my God, I think that was like my early 20s, like in London with all my gals. Like we'd be, anyways, on a night.
Yeah.
Dancing. But I think in that way, what music and dancing can connect you to, it helps you start to express emotion and actually to be able to feel emotion. And especially when you think about like a classic music or something like that, there's no words, but you feel from the tone, from the instruments that are being used, you get the sense of something and it stimulates, it feels it deep inside, don't you? And I think, I don't know about you, but like with a lot of the women that I work with, they're so self-aware. Like they know so much about their patterns. They know so much about their triggers. They know exactly why they do what they do, but they can't stop doing it. Yeah. And a lot of it is because it's stuck in the body. And a lot of it is things that we don't remember. Yeah. And it's, 5, 10, 15, 20, I don't know, however old somebody could be. It's things that's just been stuck and stored and we've just forgotten about. Yeah. But we don't feel it anymore.
Yeah, and I think you've got to move. Like that's the thing, it's a release, it's a huge release. And I notice it now, like I think you've got to be present with it. Really. And like sitting with uncomfortable emotion, no one wants to do it, right? Because it's...
No.
And do you know what my friend says as well? My friend says this, right? She was like, you get certificates. You don't get a certificate for this work. No one sort of sits there and goes, how do you explain to somebody? Ta-da! I've just sat in the dark and been dealing with all this icky stuff inside and like processing it. No one will go, well, congratulations. Yeah. Well done. Here's your certificate.
You've done the work. Slow down.
And it's really difficult, but it's actually really difficult, exhausting. And it's, it's really painful. It's really painful. Yeah. And, before I had PTSD, I used to work with a lot of people that had addiction issues. And, I used to get really frustrated because the system isn't designed to help them deal with the pain. Like at the time, there was methadone programs, like get them on methadone because that's a legal form of heroin. But I was like, when you hear their stories, they've been through unbelievable amounts of stuff, and I'll be like, it's no wonder that you are where you are.
It all comes back to trauma in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, but there wasn't that support to help them kind of deal with it in the right way. I think it's hard. It's really hard. It's not linear. It's really messy. It's really messy, and sometimes you just feel like for every step forward you take a couple back, and then also you go, right. Oh, I think I'm all good now, and then something will come along and sideswipe you, and like, oh God,
here we are again.
Yeah.
But I guess that's also like the premise in that way of like the 5 waves somehow is that like things are not linear, nothing ever is it? So it goes back to the cycles again. Like the cycles don't keep the same, and even when the cycle repeats, it comes back in a different way. Yeah. So it's like nothing is ever the same. And I think when you were talking earlier, it made me think of, I always say this wrong, kintsugi, the Japanese art.
Oh, actually, yeah.
And I think it's like that beautiful piece of like something smashing, it repairs back with like a beautiful gold thread and not thread, pin, but it's beautiful again, but it's just in a completely different way. And I think obviously I've never been through PTSD or anything that you have, but in trauma work in that way, it is about understanding and accepting of yourself that you've been through something horrendous, but you are still, and I don't mean beautiful like physically, I mean you are beautiful physically, but I mean like you're still beautiful as a person, you're still a whole person, you are just different.
Yeah, and I think, do you know, actually I forgot about kintsugi. When I found out about that, was about a year into, and it really, I held on to that actually. I used to have a picture of it on my phone because that was about the stage I was trying to accept that I wasn't going to be the person I was before. And kintsugi, and I've shared that actually with other people. I think it is a really beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
Of like healing your cracks. And I feel like there's something for me, there's been an ongoing journey of almost becoming more real as a result and being more authentic and more honest and more raw.
Well, I think sometimes like the more that you, and especially where you've been, the more that you keep leaning into fear, the more you keep leaning into that darkness, you turn around and you think, what the fuck have I got to lose here? And it's like, actually, I don't like that. I don't want that in my life. I don't need that. So you can stand up a lot more and be like, do you know what? Fuck you. No, thank you.
Well, also, I think what it made me do, it made me quite brave. So like, I've always been a bit like, I'll just say yes. So some people are like, oh, how have you ended up where you've ended up? And I'm like, honestly, I think it's just because I said yes. And then I sort of say yes, and then I sort of go, oh, shit, what have I said yes to? And like, for example, so one of the consultancies I do work for, they use the psychology of laughter and humour in learning and development. And last year, we got told we had to do stand-up comedy training. And so I go, oh, yeah, that's great, fine. So I got on a course, and then it was during Edinburgh Fringe. And we turned up on day one of the course, and they're like, oh, right, yeah, so you're going to do stand-up comedy course at the end, and stand-up comedy gig at the end. It's also going to be your first Edinburgh Fringe show. And I was like,
what?
I said, so what? And actually, like, before we did it, I actually had a minor panic attack, had to down a glass of wine. But like, that's just an example of like, I'll just go, well, yes, what have you got to lose? And even if it doesn't work out, you will have learned something.
Yeah.
And I think probably going through all of that stuff and kind of getting comfortable with fear. And it's not to say I don't feel fear, but when I feel that fear, I sort of will like breathe through it. And I was actually in the Scottish mountains the other day. I was chatting to my friend about it, and I was like, I still feel fear, but I think because I've been exposed to quite a lot of it, I'll recognise it, and I'll go, okay, this means I'm like out of my comfort zone. I'll just breathe. But I also have a bit of a mantra. It sounds a bit naff, but I sort of say, oh, you know, I'm a badass, I'm Wonder Woman. Because I also know that when you're in fear, you can freeze.
Yeah.
So if I tell myself something positive, that will help me keep going.
Sorry, I'm going to have to stop you again. Say that again. We need to hear you.
I'm a badass, I'm Wonder Woman. And actually that's got me through some ultras as well. I remember one ultra, like literally the last 5 miles, I was just like, I'm Wonder Woman, I can do this, I'm Wonder Woman, I can... And it's...
I mean, you literally are. You've got the hair and everything, actually.
And so I think, you know, and actually, when I look back, all that horrible stuff I went through, like I said, I draw strength from it now. And it's like, yeah, if you can go through that and come out the other side, like, you're choosing to do this.
Yeah.
You didn't get a choice in that. You had to deal with it. And I think, you know, every time, and women, you know, and actually talking about transforming pain into power and purpose, women are the masters of it. Women give birth. Like, there is no greater transformative experience. And, you know, I think the depth of strength that women have is just, like, untold. Like, we don't even know the potential. You know, like, the last 50 years, women have more rights, and look at the stuff that they're achieving. And I think, yeah, the strength that women have is unbounded. And I always come back to, so in shaman traditions, earth and water is feminine, and fire and sky is, so the sky, fire. And for me, I love the ocean, right? You look at the ocean, it's just like, it terrifies me, but I'm in awe of it at the same time. And if you've seen an ocean in a storm, I always think that's the strength that resides in all women.
Yeah.
And when you think like that, it's like, well, what's possible if we just... And I think also like women supporting each other. Yeah. And that's the other thing, actually, my friends. When I didn't trust anybody, there's a couple of friends, I called them my circle of trust. And there's like a couple of friends in particular that I would get a bit emotional about it.
That's all right, it takes time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here. They picked me up off the floor. And, yeah, you know.
We need that, don't we? We need that group of people around us that we know are going to be the ones who are going to be there to, for whatever it is, even if you can't speak for 6 hours and you're just going to, I'm thinking of myself, don't say anything for 6 hours, you're just going to sit and sob in a chair, but just knowing that somebody is there who cares for you, loves you, wants the very best for you.
Yeah.
That's the best space to be.
Yeah, my female friends have just, I wouldn't be where I am. I genuinely don't think I would be where I am today without them. They've just, it's like we're so different. Me and some of my closest friends, we couldn't be more different. And they'll just be like, what are you doing now? But they've still, we've got each other's back. And
they're also the ones that say to you, go Louisa, okay, slow down Louisa.
Yeah. And again,
in that way, it's like they're there as they're your, I don't know why I'm thinking of a gear stick in a car. They're like your support network that are just going to be there for whatever stage is going on, whatever is happening. They're just there for you.
Do you know what I sometimes say, actually? The greatest loves of my life, they are my female friends.
Yeah.
Like, and I sort of, we all joke that we'll all be old together, and I'll be the one trying to get, climbing out of the old people's home, trying to get them to come with me when I run away. But yeah, I think that's the greatest. Yeah, they are the loves of my life, if I'm honest, my female friends, and I don't know where I'd be without them. It's funny, one of my friends she doesn't live near me, but we voice note every day, and we know the inner workings of each other's minds and what's going on, and there's a real beauty to that. And I think as a woman, that makes me so grateful to be a woman, is those female friendships that we have, and those connections, and how we can talk, and no holds barred, I think
I think
special.
sometimes it's not celebrated enough in that way, is it? Like, I see older generations where sometimes, I don't know, people have got married, they've had kids and stuff like that, and maybe, I don't know, also any generation, doesn't matter, and actually you get so consumed with where you are that you lose that connection to your female friends, to whatever. But that's your nourishment. That is like your literal sort of like feeding ground, like that nourishment of support, of strength, of growth. And also, just quite frankly, sorry, Simon, men die earlier. So, you need your good females around you, because who else is going to be there? So it's so important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, friendships are community.
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah.
And actually, I sort of share this. I moved to Cumbria 4 years ago, which for me was like a fresh start. Like, everyone here knew me as a person I was here.
Yeah, it gives you that sense of what you were saying earlier, of like of who you are,
not
who you'd be, where you'd been.
And it was interesting because I'd read a lot about community and healing, and for the last, I think, partly connected to trauma, I'd worked away for probably the last 6 years of living in Leeds. And I think that was a conscious decision of, I just want to be out. I don't want to be seen. I just want to be tucked away working. But I was kind of quite disconnected. And I didn't realise until I moved to Cumbria really quite how lonely I'd been. And I moved to Cumbria and just the community here. And that for me was very healing. Like, just the incredible community, and how like everyone just welcomed you in open arms. And like I said, I didn't realise how lonely I'd been. Like, we working away, you're just in a different hotel room every night. Everyone thinks it's really glamorous. It's really not. You're just in a different hotel room on your own.
No, it's never is.
And I think I just almost hid, because I didn't, like, Leeds was where everything happened, and I think I kind of hid a bit, and I came here, and just the level of acceptance and people accepting me for who I was, and just making me feel part of something.
Feels like you could breathe.
Yeah, and like now I love it. Like, if I've been away for work, I'll come back, I'll be insane. You'll be in Sainsbury's thinking you're just going to go quietly around, and you can't. Like, you always bump into somebody. But for me, there's something really beautiful about that, and that when you felt quite alone in the world, to then come where you're in a community where there's always somebody there to help you, and we help each other. That was really, I almost felt like that was the final part of my healing puzzle, really.
And creating that for yourself. You gave yourself that this life, you gave yourself this start, and you've created that community for yourself.
Yeah, I really think it was people that were here And I don't think that most of them even realise like what it did for me, and still does for me. Like it's really special. I do feel quite. It's funny, isn't it? I can talk about all this horrible stuff, but when it comes to people, like I think when you've lost trust in yourself and you've lost the ability to trust other people, and your world's been really dark, when you come through the other side, I think one, you appreciate things much, much more. And that's the other thing, like I sit there now and I'm like, God, this is my life. Like, I'm so grateful. And I don't think I'd appreciate it as much if I hadn't been through that. But to be in a place where you just are surrounded by just people that just care about you and you care about them, and you don't even need to have, it's not like deep mean, like I go to the coffee shop and they're like, oh, I haven't seen you for a while, how are you? And just that acceptance of who you are, and they just completely accept you for who you are is.
And you know that if somebody's asking, how are you? They genuinely want to know, not like, good, thanks, how are you? Great, busy. See you later. Like, on you go. And they genuinely want to know.
And I think also it was that they see me for who I am now.
Yeah.
And they don't know me for sort of everything that's gone past. But it's, I feel very grateful to Cumbria and sort of the community that I found here. It's been like the best thing I ever did was move to Cumbria, and I absolutely adore it. It's kind of, like I said, when I turned 40, I was like, wow, like I did it. It took a long time, quite a lot of twists and turns, but
sorry, go on.
But the stuff that I visioned and wrote down,
it
was weird. Actually, I found some old journals a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh shit,
that was it.
I say when I work with graduates, I'm like, you've got to understand, nothing's built overnight. It's chipping away and chipping away and chipping away and chipping away, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, what may take one person 1 year may take someone else 10 years. And I think that's, it's your road.
Yeah, it's like accepting that you're on your own individual path. Yeah. Everyone's unique, and what you think you want now, in 1 year's time, 6 months' time even, you might not even want that same thing, because we're all constantly changing and evolving, aren't we? So it's like you change, your wants and needs change and evolve in that way as well.
Yeah, and I think also it's understanding that everything gets you here.
Yeah.
And like earlier this year, I kind of had a little bit of when I was in the February in the dark place and the hopeless, one of the other realizations was, you know what, been through some hard stuff, but it all brought me here. It all brought me here. So actually, as much as it was rubbish and horrible and messy and dark, that was all part of the process to get me here, where I'm like, this is great, this is good. But we can't see that when we're in the midst of it. That's where the sort of kind of have to surrender and have that hope that it can get better.
Yeah, I love that, because it is literally that opposite. It's like surrendering to the process, surrendering to what's going on there. And I really am a firm believer that we don't, obviously different in your case, but like we don't take huge leaps forward in trust or something to go backwards. We always end up moving forwards because, like you just said, what tools we had then got us to where we were. But we evolve and change, and it's almost like we keep upskilling. So we keep changing, we keep upskilling, and we keep coming at things from a different perspective. And if we accept that and accept that's the process, then we'll just always keep moving forwards. But it's the fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's the things that you tell yourself on a day when you're thinking, I just need to get back in bed, and I'm not facing this, I'm not up to it today?
What do I tell myself? I'm Wonder Woman.
Yeah. I'm a badass. I'm Wonder Woman.
No, what do I say? I have like lots of little quotes around my house, that kind of help me get through. Sometimes when this has helped me. So Mel Robbins came up with this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 theory.
Oh, yeah.
And quite a few years ago, when I was like, I can't get out of bed, I was like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5. And that did actually help me get out of bed. And I think for me, it's just, so I do what I'm grateful for every day. I've done it religiously for years. I just start the day with 3 things I'm grateful for. And that really helps me, because it's like, there's always something to be grateful for. Yeah. Even if it's like really simple, like I've got clothes and a bit of food in my cupboards, like that definitely helps me. And the other thing is like a bit of movement. So do you know what, actually, what really really helps me when I'm really struggling. Bit of music. So I have this, you know, Happy Feet. Happy Feet. They have a heart song.
Right.
Penguins shouldn't be exclusive to penguins. Human beings need a heart song. So I go through phases. I love my music. I always have music on. So that's a good thing. I'll have like a song of the moment, kitchen disco, and I guarantee that will help shift something in me. And actually, there's times when I'll be like, I haven't danced for a while. I need to dance, and then if I dance, and I feel better. And I think for me, I think that moving, just shifting, because I'm very lucky to live in Cumbria and have a nice little village. Even just getting out of the house for 5 minutes and going for a walk. Yeah. Just those simple things.
It's like a change of scenery. Yeah. It's just changing your perspective, isn't it? Like
state.
Moving it, changing state. Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, what would Louisa from 2015, what would she have to say to you today, do you think?
I think she'd be very proud of herself. Yeah, I think she'd be like, yeah, you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think she'd quite believe that she'd do it. Yeah. But
well, you bloody, God, you're going to make me cry now. Well, you bloody have. And we're in 2026 and you're absolutely listening to the plans that you've got coming up earlier. I mean, you're just getting started.
Yeah. Definitely. Do you know what? When I turned 40, someone said to me, you're middle-aged. I was like, no, I'm not middle-aged. I'm entering my second act. It's just beginning.
I like that. So, and I think now it's like, it almost comes back to that societal generational thing as well, doesn't it? Of like what 40 used to look like. We last year, not accidentally, it was on TV, came across Shirley Valentine, and I couldn't believe it when she was like, I'm 42. And I'm like, oh my God, you look like you're 72. No offence, lady who plays Shirley Valentine. But she looks so old. And I think it's because that's what maybe 40, 41, 2-year-old people looked like in that time. But things have changed. I mean, we're going to be working till we're well into our 70s. So in that way, life has changed, isn't it? Like 40 is 30, 50 is 40. Yeah. And women are starting businesses in their mid-40s at a rate of knots. Yeah. Like we are the biggest expanding demographic in the country. So yeah, you were absolutely just getting started.
Yeah, and also the other thing I want to say is when I turned 40, someone said, welcome to your wisdom years. And then I've added in your freedom years. And my friend said to me, it's your naughty 40s. And last year I was like, I've not been that naughty yet. How can I be more naughty in my 40s? And I think there's a liberation, right? Because as you get older, you don't really, I feel like I care less and I'm less tolerant of things I used to be. But yeah, every time one of my friends turns 40, I'm like, freedom and wisdom years. Yeah,
love it.
Yeah.
Do you ever look back at photos of you in your 20s and you think, fuck, what the hell was I worried about? I was fucking hot and tiny. And it's like,
so this happened,
just thought I wanted to always be smaller, recently.
Smaller. So I was going through some of my old USB, I was trying to find a document. Anyway, I ended up in like this black hole. I found all my old USB sticks with my part. You know, when you had digital cameras and like partying. And I looked at myself and I was like, I used to, I was always thought I was fat, and I was looking at myself going, Louisa, what? And yeah, you never feel good enough. And I looked at the photos, and I was like, right, you need to just like celebrate your body. Like we're not judging, we're not doing this anymore. But it was also really funny to look back and I don't know that if I could go back with the knowledge and wisdom I have now, but I don't think I'd go back to being in my 20s again.
No.
And just the wanting to please everybody and the insecurities and
it's so funny, isn't it? Because like there's all what I'm coming to realise more and more now is like there's all of these cliches, like maybe women in our 40s, like we tell women in the 20s now, like, oh, don't think this, definitely celebrate yourself now, and you like. God, I can't even think now. But there's so many cliches that I feel that come back on a daily basis now. And I'm just like, but they're so true. And we just think they're really cheesy nonsense. But they're not. Like, they're literal gold nuggets that we should absolutely be hoovering up and taking on board.
It's the beauty of life experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as they're all life stages, aren't they? And you kind of have to go. You're always, like Michelle Obama says, we're always in a state of becoming. And it's kind of true, isn't it? And you can't get here without going through that.
No.
That's all part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. Until it's okay hearing somebody else saying something, but until you've actually been through it and witnessed it yourself and felt it, you don't believe it. You can understand it, but you don't know it. You don't feel it. So, yeah. Oh, Louisa, thank you so much. That's been incredible. Yeah, what a journey, what a story. I'm excited to see what you're going to, what's going to unfold for you over the next year. Some amazing plans. So thank you so much.
Wow, what an incredible episode and a journey and story to hear. That fear, surrender, hope. And I think the biggest thing that I took from Louisa's story, I loved the line, nothing is permanent. No state is ever permanent. And if we can accept that nothing is permanent, and when we sit, we can move through something and something else comes at the end, it feels less scary. And I started thinking about my own surrender, and it was a word that came up a lot on the live recording, as you heard, and it got me reflecting on, what that is for me. And I realised it was about control, how much we try to control everything, how I used to micromanage every little aspect of my life. And actually what it really boiled down to was about perfection, or the illusion of perfection. I've got my shit together. I'm capable. I can do everything. No problem. Jazz hands. Give me a broom and I can broom the floor as well. I'm perfect. But really, deep down, it was about proving I'm enough. I can do this. And I was so tightly wound up. I was anxious. I wasn't sleeping, super thin, running on nervous energy, stuck in fight or flight, trying to control everything. No ball could drop. If a ball dropped, it would be the end. Like, Jesus, what would happen? And it cost me so much. Top of the list, my health. I was thin, my period stopped, I had disordered eating. I felt like a bag of nerves. And until I started to slow down and find the connection back to myself and my own wisdom, I found that I could start to let those balls drop. And you know what? When I did that, nothing changed, nothing broke, and I was all right. And I think that's the point, that's the thing, that is the story in itself, isn't it? Sitting with those deep, dark emotions, that fear, the things that are coming up, the trauma, whatever that is for you, it's a moment and it will pass. Join me next week where I will be talking to another incredible lady about her journey. Speak soon.